we are in with the application. So we're going to take our first question and look at how we are really going to solve it. So make sure you are glued, read the question carefully. So that's the question. It's very easy. I've told you, don't panic. The first thing is to gather a lot of courage. Look for the important things. So let's look at the things that I said. I said, if you look at this question, let's see if there are some keywords that can really be very tricky. Do you see any only in the question? So if you go through, I think you are doing that. You will see there's no only. Do you see words like no? All right. So now we are good to go. Now let's write the important information. Now the first thing we like to write is the entire class. What are we really talking about? We are talking about students. How many are they? They are 40. So the first thing we want to write is number of students, or n of u, which is the universal set, would be equal to 40. Then we read along and write the other important information. Now we have economics mean 20, so it means n of e. You have to define your terms, where e stands for economics. So n of e will give you 20. N of g, we have 24. And then n of m for mathematics, we have 22. Now let's go straight to the Venn diagram. You draw the Venn diagram as you can see on the board, and make sure you are really paying attention and then helping me help you, okay? Now let's get this thing. Be relaxed. Be relaxed. It's very easy, okay? Relaxed. Now, if you look at this Venn diagram, we have three intersecting circles, and then first let's write our union up there. We have u, and then we have the 14 bracket, or you can write n of u is equal to 14. All right, so that's how you want to write it. Now we want to choose the circles. It's better you write it as the questions appear so that you are not confused when you want to go back, okay? Now the first thing in the question is about economics. So you pick the first circle, we write the E in bold. Remember, in set notation, every set should be represented by a letter which is in capital. So E, then in E we can write A into bracket 20, that's for economics. Then for geography, we have G 24, then 22 for math, as you can see on the screen. The next thing is we like to write where the V is. Where the V is, where do all these three circles intersect? That is what is really important when you want to solve a three-set problem, because that value is going to help you solve subsequent questions. Sometimes those places are really, really important. So let's look at that part, whether we have any information there. Now, if you read carefully, you see each student had at least one of the three books, but the number was not specified. So here we are going to put in a variable. You can choose any variable. Normally people like to choose x, so let's choose x. Now we put x at where all these three circles intersect, so we have x there. Then now let's go to the other side. We have 10 had geography and economics books. Geography and economics. Geography and economics. I've told you for intersection of three-set problem, if you have two departments, it means we are looking at two regions. So if you look at the regions, well, geography and economics, we are expecting you to write 10 minus x because the other part is x. So if it's x, the other part is going to be 10 minus x because together they should be 10. And 10 minus x plus x is still 10. That's good. So you see it on the screen. Now when we get to mathematics and economics, that is 12. So that place is also going to be 12 minus x. So that the two regions, when you add them, you get your 12 back. Then the last thing is 16 had two of the three books. It means they are not giving us any information on mathematics and then geography. So we are going to represent that by a variable, okay? So it means if you look at the Venn diagram carefully, we have about 4 places that we've not filled. We are going to write variables. Make sure you are choosing unconflicting variables. We've already chosen X, so you can't choose X. Let's choose A, B, C in any way you like to write them. So be really going in and out with me. Be looking at the screen and look at where I'm putting these variables. Okay, if that is done correctly, the next thing is that we are really going to solve for individual variables. But the first thing is that it said 16 had 2 of the 3 books. Now, if you look at the Venn diagram, now where you had, if you go and look at the wall map, where you had I, and then VII, these 3 regions were for the only. So those are for exactly one subject. Then where you had the intersection, I'm going to show you on the screen with, you see where the pointers are really sticking, and then you can really notify those places. There are 3 regions that stand for exactly 2 of the books. So we are going to add all these and get 16. So that is extra information. It's not in the Venn diagram, but we are supposed to write it as we solve the question. So if you are doing it well, we are going to have 12 plus 10 minus x plus a, which is giving us 16. So these are the 3 regions that the question is talking about. Together, they will give you 16. Well, you can decide to simplify it. I did that. You really look at it. Now I'm having 6 plus a is equal to 2x, sorry. And that is our equation 1. That is just an information, and I've written it down. Now let me move on to the other variables. For the other variables, you see their total have been given up there. So I'd like to make B the subject. And then I'll look at the entire B circle. Now if you look at the circle that contains the B, you realize that it has 20. And this 20 is standing in for economics. So for economics, if you are looking for that small b, it means you are going to subtract everything there from 20. And that will give you the b. So our b would be 20 minus into bracket 10 minus x plus 12 minus x. Now, if you do the simplification, well, we are now going to have b being equal to minus 2 plus x. All right, so you do the same thing for C and for D. The work has been really written down. Take your time, go through, and really look at how I'm solving each of them. I'm not getting specific answers. I'm getting expressions, and I'm happy with them. In math, don't always think you are going to get one unique answer. If you get an expression, it might be leading you to the right answer. So follow up, and let's get going. Okay, now, if you look at what I've written, I'm saying that now let's add everything in the Venn diagram and equate it to the universal set. That's the next step, because we have less of information. Now this 40 up there should really have a role to play, and that is where it comes in now. Now I'm supposed to add everything in this Venn diagram equal to 40. It's going to be tedious. As you can see, it's now tedious for you, right? So I'm now going to look at the economic circle, which represents 20, and I'm just going to write 20, and I'll add the next 3 regions there. The next 3 regions is C plus A plus D, and I'll make it equal to 40. If you take the economics region out, you are left with C, A, and D. And so together you are supposed to get 40. Now, the good news is we have an expression for C, we have an expression for D. Let's substitute those expressions into this equation. Now, if you do that correctly, you are going to have 20 plus 14 minus A plus 10 minus A is equal to 40. Now, if you are doing your grouping of like terms, well, you are now going to have 44 minus A is equal to 40. You group your like terms, A is equal to 4. Now, it means we are really getting the answers now. We've gotten one of them, A is equal to 4. I told you we are on track. Relax, the answers are going to pop up. Now, to find the values of x. Now, you see, for the first equation, in equation 1, we had 6 plus A is equal to 2x. Now, we have an answer for A. So why don't we go and put that in there and solve for x? Now, if you do that correctly, you are going to have 6 plus 4 is equal to 2x. And that is going to give you 10 equal to 2x. Now, we are looking for x. So we are going to divide both sides of the equation by the coefficient of x, meaning the number in front of the x, and that is 2. So we do that division well, we are getting x to be 5. Good. I hope you are following. Make sure to subscribe, pay attention, and then let's move on gradually. Okay. Now, you can input the values of x in any of these other equations that we've written or the expression that we wrote for D and C. And then you are going to get your D and C figures. Now, if you are doing it correctly, you are going to have C being equal to 10 and D being equal to 6. D will be 6 and C will be 10. Now, we're drawing the Venn diagram to help answer subsequent questions. And that is what is really important. We have questions that will follow. So now that you have these key values, why don't you draw the Venn diagram again input the values that you've gotten so that it's very easy to answer questions that follow. Now, if you do that, then it means now you can answer the question. Let's look at the first question that we're asked to solve. The first question is find the number of students who had all three books, and that is the place that we represented by x. It means you just write I and x was equal to 5. It means the first answer x is equal to 5. Now we also have only geography and mathematics books. Only geography and mathematics books. Now what does it mean when we say only geography and mathematics books? As you can see, we've solved the question, we've taken our time, now we've answered every question, and that is what you are supposed to do. Be confident. If you're not getting an answer, you get an expression, relax, it's going to lead you to the answer. So thank you, make sure you subscribe, you enjoy the lesson, and then we are going to take other questions that we are going to solve. Make sure you are not really going anywhere, and then you are really going through this. You can